Vicky Linnane and welcome to Embrace Therapy podcast. I am a practicing art therapist based in Ireland. In each episode, I will interview guests from various fields of therapy and well-being with the aim to encourage healing through embracing therapy. This week on the podcast, I'm joined by art therapist Leah Guzman. She is based in Miami, Florida, and she's written a book called Essential Art Therapy Exercises, Effective Techniques to Manage Anxiety, Depression and PTSD. It's a beautiful book of lovely exercises to help you overcome the mindsets that are holding you back and to lead you toward inner peace. Some of them only take 5 minutes and they're so lovely. I have read through the book and I'm using them with clients at the moment and everybody's really enjoying it. Leah talks about her 17 years of experience as an art therapist. She talks about meditation, mindfulness and manifesting. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast. Far away, but we are joined here like as if you're in the room. So this is wonderful. Thank you for coming on.
It is. Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing, to connect with other art therapists and kind of see what you're working on and how we can collaborate together. Since we're like-minded people, so it's pretty amazing.
I know, and I feel like everything's been locked down and closing down, but yet there's been so many openings. Like so many new opportunities. Like I would never have done this. I would never have done a podcast in a million years, but it's like it was an opportunity that I just thought of. And then since then it's been like reaching out, opening out to people and people like yourself that are just like, yeah, sure, why not? It's great.
Most definitely. I think that's happened to a lot of people. I've been inspired as well because when the lockdowns happened here, it's like I was really craving community. And so for myself, I started the Creative Soul Society just so that we could have get together with other creatives and do art making a couple times a month. And I probably wouldn't have done that as either if I was constantly running around and doing things, but I was craving it for myself. It was I want this, and I think other people might benefit from it. So it's kind of, I've really enjoyed that part about the pandemic of just the slowing down and then looking at what's important, what does my soul need? What do other people's souls need? And then putting it out there, to see.
Yeah. And it's funny, you use the word community and, until recently, I would have thought community would have been in a 20-kilometer radius, so yeah, it's lovely. The world community, it feels so small now. So yeah, you mentioned there, you're doing art workshops online, and you had one last night, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been kind of doing 2 a month, and one is focused on my new book. I've just been taking exercises out of the Essential Art Therapy exercise book and just meeting and doing them together. And then the other one is, I feel like it's more like a mastermind art making group where it's more of identifying what your desires are. What do you want to manifest? And everyone's a creative in the group. So whether they're art therapists or whether they're just, artists wanting to bring their gifts out into the world. So it's how are you focused on that? And then how can we work together to brainstorm and create art about those next steps? And so we're going to meet at the end of the month and do one about treasure mapping. So it's taking our vision board that we created and then making a treasure map of those steps of how, brainstorming what needs to get done for us to get to that next level or, on our path, on our journey. So it's nice to see the visual of our desires and then not just do it one time and then it sits there. It's oh, did it happen at the end of the year? No, to really nurture it and, give it attention and, see what's important again. Do you really want to do this? Do we really want to put energy there? Or it's to kind of assess where you're at.
And it makes it bite-sized, really digestible as well. You can just keep, like you said, just keep looking at it bit by bit. Yeah, Wonderful. And then the visual aspect, of course, is just a whole other thing as well on top of it because you're getting to express.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Is just being able to visually see it and make it exciting. So it's energetically it's here with you. It's not just like this idea in your mind. You can put it out there and see it.
Wonderful. I think manifesting in Ireland as a word is not really recognized yet. I don't think people fully understand it.
Mhm.
Like, I suppose the only thing would have been like maybe Gwyneth Paltrow mentioning it on the Goop Lab, maybe on Netflix, maybe something like that might have been the only way people would have gotten to know about it. So maybe you might just give us a little insight into like what manifesting your desires is. Like, how do you do it? Like, how does it look like? Yeah.
Oh, I love this question because I love this topic. So, for me, I look at it as a law of attraction. So, law of attraction is really based upon, what our beliefs are, or what are energetically what we feel, and when we are able to have like these desires, like these things, we always have desires. So, it's being able to energetically tap into that and on the inside in order for us to bring it into our life on the outside. So when I see manifesting, it's like, okay, we got to identify what we want. And then it's like, yes, we have to figure out maybe, we get those downloads from the universe of like, what's the next best steps of getting there or being open to receive it, right? And what I see a lot with like creatives, because I call it like healing and manifesting, is that we get stuck and we get blocked energetically or with our beliefs and how, we have certain habits, things that we tell ourselves or what we've been conditioned with, like from our parents or teachers. So we've had these experiences that we don't even realize that they're shaping our ideas and stopping us from really like being our true selves, because we just want to be able to express ourselves and just love ourselves and live fully, right? And so it's kind of like this exploration. It's this journey of looking at what we want and then like what's this gap, and how can we heal within ourselves, and explore that and taking those steps, because as we heal within ourselves, then we can energetically get into that alignment and be able to manifest what we want, because we truly deserve or worthy of everything that we desire. So it's just learning how to accept it and create that life that we want.
It's so interesting. It immediately makes me think about boundary setting as well, isn't it? Like, this is what I want for myself. So I need to accept that this is my starting point and where I need to go. It might take me some time, but I'm going to have to set up some boundaries in order to get there. And that could be like, boundaries, like you said, bringing up your parents and stuff like that. There's so much to go into, really, isn't there? And then like, just the growth that can happen in that, in just manifesting, even just that thought. It's huge, really. Like, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to set up the boundaries and the limits and give it a go, And I think that initial thing is like, it stops the stuck feeling. You mightn't have actually done too much yet, but even that.
Yeah, boundaries are huge. I mean, when I first like even started my own journey of like sharing my art into the world, because I've always been an artist, but not always like put it out in the world for public consumption, or even coming out as an art therapist, like letting the world know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Or you want to get involved, you want to learn more, that type of thing. I really had to set some boundaries as well, because with my time, I had to set boundaries with, even the like people around me of just being able to say, hey, this is my set time that I'm going to like do a podcast with someone, or that I'm going to create, like please give me this, I put a little note on the door with my family. So this is like like my sacred time to do things. And then people learn how to respect that as well, so that you are able to, nurture your goals and your desires of doing that next step. Because I think that what I've learned about myself, actually in the exercise that we did last night in the Creative Social Society, was learning about our habits and the way we cope with situations when what other people need their needs met, and what do you do when you put yourself out there and need to ask for your needs met. And a lot of times we can be a little passive aggressive, like people pleasers, and always saying yes to things, and then on the inside we're like, do I really want to do that? Is that really aligning with that desire, right? And so I know when I first started out, coming out with my art and like letting people know about art therapy, that was something that was big for me, because I noticed that I was saying a yes in a lot of areas where I really wanted to say no. And that was a part of getting into alignment, of saying, okay, if this is my desire, and I have to match. Like if I really don't want to go to that party, or if I really don't want to like take on someone else's project or their dream, then why am I doing that? Like I want to be excited about it. So saying yes when it feels really, really good, like being here with you today. So.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're just so kind, and just I just love your energy. Obviously, I came across you on Instagram and just like total fangirl, just like so excited about your page, and then love your website. Like and then I went and got the book too. So ta-da!
Awesome. So are you using it? Have you been able to use it a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. I was so excited to use it. I suppose, especially with teenagers, I think right now they're doing a lot of work and homework online. And for the ones that I don't meet online, I'm meeting them in person. It's nice to have something that they can as well think about doing at home if they want. So something they can take away. So I'm doing a little bit of that as well, like the fill your cup exercise. I think is so nice, and just something that they can do on a daily basis of just like checking in, like have I met those needs? Like you're saying, like just keeping to those goals again. And I think that's really important to kind of learn that skill at a young age. So teenagers especially, I've been using that one, and I think that one's just gorgeous. And then I just bookmarked one, the acceptance box, because it's like what we're saying, it's just accepting who you are now, but also who you want to be and how to get there. And it's so important.
So important. Yes. And I love that you're talking about teenagers. I love working with adolescents and children as well, just to like teach them that emotional intelligence, and teaching them that how important it is to check in with yourself on a daily basis, because no one else really teaching you that. It's not really it's something that's, I feel like, is mental health, talking about mental health is new for people, and they don't really go there until they've had this nervous breakdown, or their anxiety has taken over, or they're in this deep depression. They're like, oh well, maybe I should get help. But it's really about like stepping back and say, well, I can do this now, and I can do this every day before, so that you don't have those crises, that you can just, be healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, taking care of those parts of your body.
Yeah. And I think that's a nice kind of flow into self-care, and kind of, just that maintenance part. Like, I know you have a lovely part in your website talking about self-care as well. And I think, throughout the podcast, I've asked that question to my guests, like, what does self-care look like to you? And, you mentioned play and eating well, and just, giving yourself nourishment. So what does nourishment feel like to you? Each person is going to be a bit different, but Leah, how is it for you? What's self-care look like to you?
It's definitely a daily practice. That's what I work with my clients, is really creating that structure. And for me, I like to wake up, I'll have my morning coffee, but I'll also do a meditation. I do journaling. That's kind of how I can like set up my day. And then also, looking at like my desires too, and just being really close with them and intimate with them, and knowing that I'm taking baby steps every day. It could be something small, like I want to create a new series, and like behind me I have like some empty canvases, but it's giving that attention, like scheduling time for myself to make those happen. So my planner is like my agenda is going. It was like my brain, like I have to like write things down. I like to write things down. So I think it's just like a everyday nurturance. I mean, sometimes I might take like a bubble bath, or just get a cup of coffee with a girlfriend, those type of things to just, nurture myself. It's important.
Super. Yeah. And like, there's something about like reaching out and connecting with others that seems so important right now. So just even going for a cup of coffee, like right now, all the cafes are closed in Ireland. So like, it's so hard, but I think we're learning new ways. So like going for, a safe distance walk and having a chat. Our dogs are walked so much now at this stage. I think everyone's just like walking dogs every minute. So I think connecting with people right now is more important than ever. Like we were saying, with the community aspect of things. But just, I suppose, with you talking about what you do for yourself, I guess what I'm thinking is that your clients are going to pick up on that, like that, she really is looking after herself, and I feel safe with her because she knows what to do to maintain her mental health. And I don't know, I feel like that could be really picked up on. And I'm sure that's a nice space to start with, a nice energy to start with. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. I think that, we all have bad habits. We all have like certain things like, could be like addicted to our phone and I realize that we're like spending too much time on it, or yeah. And I think that's what, like at least with my sessions with my clients is kind of like figuring out what those habits are, what is the blockage and like, how are we spending our time? Because our thoughts are so powerful. And just like being able to, analyze our time, but also analyze that energy of our headspace, and then filling it with good stuff. So that, because that shapes your day too, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much my focus, on being able to, look holistically at your life, and give each little area attention. I think it's important.
I think like the Buddhists talk about attention so well, and it's nice, to tap into all different parts of, different cultures and societies, and what they gave attention to. So, you talked about doing meditation in the morning, and even like a yoga practice or whatever, like it could be just going out in the garden. Like it could be something so simple, or a solitary walk, whatever it is that you are giving attention to yourself in that moment. Like, yeah, it's a real like checking in. Yeah. I think that's probably step one, isn't it? Kind of for self-care. Yeah.
What do you like to do? I'm so curious.
Well, it's changing a lot. Like, when I was single, it probably would have been dance. I probably would have done a lot of dancing, and swimming. So very physical. And now, like, I'm a mother, wife. I think it's more just like you said, like the bubble bath, like, yeah. So like, I think that's something that like, yeah, you can kind of lock the door, get the essential oils out and give yourself like, sometimes I stretch it to like 2 hours, just really make it a luxury. But yeah, I'm walking the dog. I'm very fortunate. There's a lot of beautiful woodland areas where I live. So I can kind of escape, yeah, which is nice. So yeah, right now, that's kind of it, getting a few hours with my dog, or yeah, in the bath. and you're a mother too, and I just feel such a love, we say in Ireland a grá, like such a love for women that are like juggling a lot, like be able to like be an art therapist and artist, you're self-employed, you're an author, you're a mother as well. So it's amazing that you can juggle it all, so I just wanted to say that out loud, I guess.
Oh, a lot of my friends are like, well, how do you do that? Or like, how do you find the time? And I always think of, I do wake up early, I have to admit that. Like, I wake up like at 5:30 to be able to practice what I practice. But I think that's, it's always baby steps. Like even like the website has been, I feel like it's like this living, breathing machine that I've been working on it for like 8 years. It's constantly changing, and I'm changing, I'm transforming. But I always feel like my time as well, is that I'm the owner of it. So I really get to look at like how I get to spin those little increments, because if you could focus on something for 30 minutes, you can get a lot done. So it's being able to get focused, give it that love and attention. And then it's like a satisfaction, like I don't paint 8 hours a day, even though it would be amazing, but I'll slap myself 30 minutes, or writing a book, I'll slap myself 30 minutes, so that it's those baby steps that build that momentum and then make you feel good that you gave it, some of that attention and love.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing that you get up at 5:30. I think, I was thinking about this a long time ago with a friend. She's a life coach, and she started this as well, getting up at 5:00, going to the gym, or getting a good walk in, or even cycling like 20 kilometers to her job. She would commit to that, the plan basically to keep her well. And I was just so, I was blown away by that. And she still does it. Like, it's just who she is now. And I just think that's amazing, just to give yourself that time. And I hope one day I can get, just a nice bookend on the day. So it's starting well and ending well. I'm taking steps right now. Like I've made a Zen room, as I've called it, in my house.
Nice.
just a space that like I can kind of just go to, and like to give it a whole room. I think that's helped. It's really set.
Well, what a luxury that is. Most definitely. I have like in my room, I have a chair. So it's like, this is my meditation chair.
Yeah.
Like it's where like my little table where my crystals are and stuff like that. So yeah, like as long as you can find some space that, that's like your little nook to go to, that's important. Yeah, most definitely. I would love to work out in the morning. I'm a little bit slower in the morning. So I try to, maybe one day I'll be like that. I could wake up and like exercise, but I'm not there yet. I did find something cool though. Some neighbors of ours are doing like a HIIT training where we get to go to their house and everyone's like social distance. And so we all work out together. So it kind of feels like that has that social aspect as well.
Lovely.
And it feels good. And then everyone's chatting. So it doesn't even feel like you're working out. I mean, it does feel like you're working out, but it kind of takes your brain off of things.
That's what I would need for sure. Like, everyone's saying like, oh, just get a Fitbit, like, get the watch. And I'm like, no, like I would never, like, I couldn't tap into, I don't know. I need that, connection and energy. Like, definitely. I'd love that. That sounds great.
Yeah. So it's not just on you. So you like kind of feed off everyone else's energy. You're like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of ask you a little bit about the work that you do with chakras, because I kind of got to see the work there the other day on Instagram, and you were talking about the throat chakra and just how you moved through that and then into the art. It was just gorgeous. But I'd love for, everyone who's listening to just know a little bit more about it as well, because definitely in Ireland, chakras have been kind of compartmentalized to Reiki and yoga instructors and not really to overlap into other areas, especially mental health. I don't think it's come really that way yet, but hopefully it will come kind of full circle. But I'd love to get you to describe what you do with chakras.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I got interested in the chakras when actually when I was in college and I was having like panic attacks, all kinds of things like that. And I got into yoga and I started learning about chakras, the energy centers. And my background in art therapy has always been very clinical. Like that's what I learned in school. And so like starting out my work, like I've been an art therapist for 17 years. It was very, very clinical and like more cognitive behavioral approach, that type of thing. And so about after I had my two kids, and I got back really into my art and knowing that I wanted to put out there, I really tapped into that spiritual connection, going back to the chakra work. And what I was seeing is that like the more that I kept educating myself about the chakras and the colors, there's frequency, because these colors, the chakras are these spinning wheels in our body, and then they spin at a certain frequency, which have a color. And I was noticing that it was being reflected in the art, and it was being like if someone was feeling very anxious, their artwork would come out as very red, and that would be one of the imbalances for the root chakra, right? And so when I started making these connections, even within myself, I was like, wow, if I can balance it, and using the techniques to balance the chakra. So I was using art techniques, but I was also like bringing in stones, and I was bringing in like certain meditative practices. A lot of people do use Reiki and they do use yoga. That's another technique. There's there's many different techniques that you can use, but I was like, what I love is like the art part. So I started using it with my clients, and using it for myself, but also using it for my clients. And I was like, wow, when they became balanced and when I became balanced, what a shift in energy, that I was able to heal my anxiety through that root chakra by exercise. My anxiety went away. Like people have like, you've been anxious? I'm like, yeah, I used to suffer from like panic attacks, thinking I was going to die in Home Depot, or Walmart. I couldn't go into big places. So I was like, yeah, I've been able to heal through these techniques, through these art techniques. And so I started teaching my clients how to use the art as a way to heal themselves and be expressive in that way. So I've gone about it in different ways. I'm starting to, put it more out there into the general public, because I feel like more people need to know about it. And yeah, it has been same with the US. It is, it's very, it's kind of in a box, like this certain population knows about it or uses it. But I feel like it could be more widespread. People need to learn about these. These are ancient tools that have been around forever, and art is so powerful that why don't we just use the art with it? So I am playing and experimenting and doing a lot of processes with that. I'll show you right here. This is from the other night. Right now in the Creative Soul Society, we're focused on the throat chakra. Mm-hmm. And so here's one of the sketches. Here's one of the bigger sketches that I've been working on. This is the chakra sketch.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
And then here's one of there's actually animal symbols for each one of them. Yeah. So this is the white elephant. And then there's certain affirmations that are involved. And then collected the stones. I use the stone. This is for the throat chakra. There's like all these different even created coloring pages. This is for the root chakra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're so powerful even on their own. Do you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing us. Gorgeous. And the elephant, I remember you talking about the kind of symbolism behind what the elephant stands for. And then, like you said, mentioning the affirmations. It's lovely, even just those aspects, being brought together. So, so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you bring those colors and that energy and the affirmations and the symbolism into your life, and you're seeing that every day, that's how the healing can happen. So it's kind of like you're checking yourself. Yeah. Where am I feeling blocked or stuck? And then saying, okay, because usually it is related to an emotion as well. Like if you're stuck in your solar plexus, that's related to anger. The sacral chakra is related to shame. And mentioned before, the root chakra is a lot of anxiety or family issues and money. So a lot of times I see a lot of creatives that are imbalanced in the lower chakras. They like to live up in the dreamy, visionary, kind of fun world, right? So it's like bringing those ideas down, like bringing them down to earth is where they need help. So it's using those techniques and tools to bring those imagery and all those desires down. So you heal as you go down. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's quite a nice, slow process. It's where, when you compare it to like talk therapy and, you're trying to, with, let's say, for example, PTSD, and you're trying to talk through, like, that's just like triggering so much. Whereas when you bring in like that, the chakras and the colors, it just seems to be more gentle and just a little bit more accepting and at your pace. You can kind of just take it as it comes. Yeah. I think it's such a beautiful approach, especially in that area, like you're saying, anxiety and PTSD. I guess I'd love to inquire a little bit, because you were talking about CBT and how you started off in that kind of area and the clinical side of art therapy. Here in Ireland, just to kind of, I'd love to compare and just see what's different in Florida. So here in Ireland, art therapists are working. We're working away. There's about 300 of us on an island which is about 5 million people, and like, we're not state recognized. We're not registered. We have an association where we can, be ethical and moral, and we have our standards. There's an accreditation there. And, general practitioners like doctors, they don't refer on to us a lot of the time. Occupational therapists and psychotherapists are still not registered in the state. So it's quite a lot of work being done that's still not getting registered. So it's quite scary. It's kind of murky water, really. Especially now, what we're going through in the pandemic, like it's, we all need it, but just to get registered would be great. But just hearing you just talking about, the clinical side of work and your training, I'm so curious to know, like, how is it seen in Florida? Like, are you at a level with, occupational therapists, psychotherapists? Are you getting referrals from doctors? Like, what does it look like over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because, well, there's how it works in the States is that there's the American Art Therapy Association. So, like, they're the main place for art therapists. So that's where, like, all the, like, they'll have national conferences, and it's like the big hub. And so there's this outside agency called for our therapists to get credentialed, which the highest credentialed would be art therapy registered, board certified, which is called ATRBC. So it's an outside agency that kind of governs who, you go and get tested, you go and get like certain supervision hours, and then you just every year, you pay your fees and make sure that you're doing whatever ethics training or whatever you need to do to keep your ATRBC. So that's kind of, as our therapist in the United States, that's kind of where we move so that we know that we did the work that we needed to do. Now, does everyone recognize that? No. They're like, what is an ATRBC? Like, what does that mean? So basically it means that you have your master's degree. And the master's degrees, like, they are also, governed by the ATRBC place, where they are looking at making sure that you have like certain classes. So our classes are equivalent to a licensed mental health counselor. So basically, if you're going and which is like a talk therapist, right? So a licensed mental health counselor is basically the same classes that we are utilizing the art. Now, if you want to go and get their license, I think that that's different about licensed mental health counselor is that they are licensed. So insurance companies like that. So insurance companies say, well, since you're licensed, so they have their own board that, governs them, then they pay certain fees. Insurance companies will pay them, right? And so it's been a struggle for our therapists to get paid by insurance companies. I think that now it's starting to be more accepted, where insurance companies are starting to see that there is a match, that that's equivalent, and they are starting to. So every state is a little bit different. I want to say there's about, don't quote me on this, there's like maybe 3 or 4 states that have their own licensure for art therapy. But like I said, every state runs differently. You have to do what's, for your state. Florida does not have that. Again, it's kind of like, as you put yourself out there, working independently or working with an agency or a company, they can, they can hire you and probably pay you the equivalent amount of what that licensed mental health counselor would get. Sometimes you might get paid by insurance company. What else? Or you can just get, paid for, working. For me, like working independently, I prefer not to work with insurance. I just work with people who are willing to pay the fee. And I usually do like payment plans and, things that work for people to get the help that they need. So yeah, so I hope that I was able to explain that it's not, I've been, working as an art therapist for 17 years, but honestly, it's only been within the past few years that I say that I'm an art therapist, and they're not saying, what is that? I never heard of that. So people aren't saying that now. Surprisingly, I'm like, this is awesome. I mean, that's almost why I created this book, because it's for the general population to like taste it. It's like, I feel like it's like going into the ice cream shop and like having a taster. This is a taster, because it's not like art therapy. Art therapy is like when you meet with a therapist and you get to dive deep into your issues or your blockages and your habits. And you don't really get to see that or have that reflection or reflective distancing when you do something on your own, right? So, you meet with an art therapist so you can dive deep. And so that's why, I was excited about making something that was a little bit more accessible and that people can try this out, so they can get more well-known, so that it won't be, what is that? It's like abstract. It's like, no, my vision is that I want to see a trained art therapist in every school in America. Like I want like it being taught emotional intelligence of how to cope, self-care. Like this should be standard. That should just be a part of our educational system, you know?
I'm with you there. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of where like my stance is, and like why I even like created the book and, you know, putting it out there. So I, you know, there's definitely hope. It's been around for a very long time. And people are just now starting to see the light.
I know, it's so interesting because, like, I know one art therapist in particular who's like 35 years in practice, you know, working for the health board, the state health board. And, you know, even his title isn't the title that would be on his paycheck, let's say. You know, it's the title on his door, but that's about it. Like, you know, other than that, it's probably counselor. So the licensing factor thing, like that doesn't happen here either. And insurance companies, again, don't pay out, but yet they're starting to pay out for yoga because they see the benefits in that. So I think it's just a matter of time, and recognition is everything. So that's another reason for the podcast. It's a beautiful reason for your book to come out. You know, it's just promotion of what we do. Like, rather than putting our heads in the sand, just be like, no, we're here, we're doing the work. You know, the work is valid, you know? So it's that, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of not like this. What I've seen, there's not a lot of art therapists that are being loud or that are being like putting themselves out there. So, you know, I congratulate you for doing the podcast because I know that it takes a lot of effort and energy, but you got to be passionate about it, and you got to like want to let people know. And that's that inner work too of being able to rise up and say, yeah, this is important to me, and I want to help people, right?
Yeah.
So.
That's it. And that's the root of it all, isn't it, though? It's just like, you know, I've been doing this for 2 years, you know, qualified, but before that I would have been an art facilitator in mental health. So like I would have had, you know, a good 7 years behind that again of working in the area, just seeing the benefits and just, yeah, I guess as soon as I got qualified, I was like, right, everyone's going to know about this. Anyone that I talk to is going to know what I do and what it is. And yeah, so I guess the root of why I'm doing it is just that. It's like, I know the power of it. Yeah. So just, wanting to shout it from the roof, you know? Yeah.
And then it's like, I think that some people are like, well, why should I get trained in it? Like if you're not an art therapist, like watching this, like, well, what's the difference of me doing the exercises and doing a therapeutic group? Well, I think, you know, the training is important because you become trauma informed and you learn how to deal with like different people and different like mental illnesses and different, you know, things that could happen in experience in people's lives, that you'll know how to handle it, because emotionally it's a huge task. Being able to do this work, it can be very taxing. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. So there was a period where I got really burned out, and that's what got me back into my art, you know? So that's why the self-care is so important. But I see a lot of art therapists, they just do art therapy. They're not doing their art. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, hold on. But that's their life. You know, it's your journey. You got to do what you got to do. But yeah. So just putting that out there to that perspective of like, well, why do I need to get trained? Like, why is this, you know, why can't I just go do these exercises on my own? And then I say that I'm an art therapist. Like, no, it doesn't really work that way. You got to do the back end work as well.
Yeah, like you're working with the most vulnerable people, and then to put them in danger like that, it's so unethical. Like when I think back, you know, thinking of me in a psychiatric hospital, you know, and working with unhealthy people. Yes, it was just art, but you know, the art brings you somewhere. So, and knowing how out of my depth I was, and I was like, right, I need to just make sure I find some way to get rooted. What can I do to get rooted? And then, you know, talking to the right people, like-minded people, like you said, finding the course, the masters that I did, and just like, I'm a totally different person. Like, I know that sounds really so sad, but like, it's so true. Like, I just transformed and, you know, found my voice and yeah, so I really would push anyone who's in any way interested, even for themselves, for their own journey, to do it. Yeah, the training is amazing. Yeah. I have a few things that I just wrote down that I found gorgeous that you had written on your website and in your book. So just connecting to body, mind, and soul through creativity, and how it's cathartic and liberating. And it's just that, like, it really is so liberating to just stand with yourself on a canvas, or stand with yourself with music, whatever your creative choice is, just to be with yourself in an expressive way. Yeah, I think it's so liberating. So I think you said it so lovely. So I'm just going to say thank you so much again for coming on. And how can people get in contact with you? Do you want to just say your Instagram or your website, just so people can get in touch?
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. My website is my name. It's leahguzman.com. LeahGuzman. And yeah, you can get in touch with me there if you want to send me a note. But I do Instagram as well. And I have 2 accounts. One is my art account, which is Leah Guzman Art. And then the other one is Art Therapy Online, so that people know that it exists. It's out there.
Yeah.
So that's where I talk about, more about the chakra work and energy, and yeah, just give different techniques to use for art therapy.
And you've got such gorgeous live events as well that are free and so accessible for everyone. And I really encourage anyone to go on. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you. Oh, it was so lovely. Oh, thank you so much. Mind yourself and stay safe and stay well. Yeah.
Yes. And you too. At least if you want this with me as well, I'll share it with my community too, this recording. I would love to share it.
Oh, lovely. I'll do just that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.